Howdy y'all, welcome back to the Den DPC All-Star. I'm DPC All-Star, or Steve if you prefer, and Wallopin' Web Spinners, this will be my first video being produced in response to another video. So, just a little bit of context, the Uncanny Omar, who's always stellar, of Near Mint Condition, posted on Wednesday, September 24th, a video talking about his top 10 most wanted Spider-Man Omnibus editions for 2025. Obviously not being released in 2025, but his list of what his most wanted are for this year to possibly see in the future. Now, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. My first Spider-Man comic and my first Marvel Comics comic book happened to be Spider-Man from the 1990 to 1998 series. Yes, the one that started off with Todd McFarlane on creative lead duties. It was issue number 60, which is set smack dab in the middle of the still infamous, or famous, in my mind, the 90s Clone Saga. It was part 3 of the 4-part The Trial of Peter Parker storyline. Why was Peter Parker on trial? Well, I recommend checking out the collected editions available in physical format, or checking out the storyline, which is available in full on the Marvel Unlimited service, because it's one of the highlights, except for a specific sequence in Spectacular Spider-Man issue 226, which has a lot in common with a Hank Pym plot point from the Avengers series. That's all I'll say about it. Just know that if I can survive that entry point into the world of Marvel Comics and Spider-Man, then I think anyone can manage to push through even some of the worst stories out there in comic books. They don't have to enjoy them, but I think they can push through. With that being said, I'm going to give my take on the top 10 most wanted Spider-Man Omnibus editions for the year 2025, some of which I definitely hope we see in the near future. I will say there are some commonalities between Omar's list and my list, but there are some significant differences as well, even when we've picked some similar collected editions that we hope to see in the future. I'll also, as a bonus, elaborate and go into detail on some collected editions that will be part of a series based off of the top 10 entries, some of them, and I'll delve into why I've decided to make some of this content, why I'm expanding my purview, so to speak. With that in mind, we're going to start off with my top 10 with, this is a countdown, but not a ranking, number 10, which is the Spider-Man, the Clone Saga Aftermath. For those of you who have watched Omar's live stream, which revealed the most wanted Marvel Omnibus Edition poll results, thanks to Crisis, thanks to Brand, thanks to Tiger Eyes, thanks to Omar himself, and so many others who contributed to that list. Those of you who watched that stream, who looked at the list, you may have noticed that there were multiple options as far as volumes for this. So I have mapped, unlike Omar, who has mapped it for one, primarily with Amazing Spider-Man, I have mapped the Ben Reilly Aftermath to 4 omnibus editions to follow these 2 omnis, the Ben Reilly Omnibus Volume 1 and the Ben Reilly Omnibus Volume 2, which have recently been reprinted. These are the first print editions. And what would that deal with? Well, we've passed the Clone Saga, which features the stellar characters such as Kane, Ben Reilly, who was the Scarlet Spider initially, but took over as Spider-Man for a time in Peter Parker's absence as a result of the events of Peter Parker Spider-Man issue 75, which was formerly Spider-Man, the 1990 to 1998 series. Peter Parker is back in the saddle, baby, as Spider-Man. What happened to Ben Reilly? Well, you'll have to read the Revelation story that ends in that issue, but officially caps off with the Spectacular Spider-Man, the 1976 series that ran through 1998, issue 241, which is the true conclusion of the Revelations storyline that brings the Clone Saga to a full close, outside of some bonus material collected both in the Revelations trade paperback and the Ben Reilly Omnibus Volume 2. Will that be included in the eventual Epic collections? I certainly hope so, but we shall see. With that in mind, the mapping I have for that book is as follows. Let me get this pulled up here. So this first volume of the Clone Saga Aftermath, which I am referring to as The Return of Peter Parker, collects Amazing Spider-Man, the 1963 to 1998 series, the -1 issue 419 to 421, Spectacular Spider-Man, issue 1 and 242 to 245, Spider-Man, -1, 76 through 80, Sensational Spider-Man, the 1996 to 1998 series, -1, 12 through 18, Spider-Man Unlimited, the original 1993 series, issues 15 and 16, Spider-Man Team Up, issue 6, Journey into Mystery, the original 1962 series, issue 505, Spider-Man Hobgoblin Lives, the 1997 series, which returned the Hobgoblin to full glory, issues 1 through 3, the Marvel Holiday Special 1996 edition, X-Men 1995 series, issue 24, Spider-Man Dead Man's Hand, the original graphic novel, the 1987 Silver Surfer series, issues 128 and 129, the Marvel Valentine's Day special, and possibly, if they want to collect promo comics, Spider-Man Father's Day is Every Day, which was a Toyota giveaway. So that's what makes up the follow-up to these two Omnis, to the Aftermath of the Clone Saga, just Volume 1. Again, I said I had this map for 4 volumes. So after I go through the list, as a bonus, I'll go through the mapping for Volumes 2, 3, and 4. But for now, let's move on to number 9. So for number 9, we're focusing on what Omar has picked for his number 9 as well, which is the Ven Omnibus Volume number 4. This would be the material that takes place prior to Rick Remender's run on Venom, which has already received, as of summer 2025, its own omnibus edition, collecting these 3 epic collections. So it runs from the beginning of Remender's run, includes the prelude from Amazing Spider-Man's Big Time imprint, and runs all the way up through Venom Space Knight, also incorporating Cullen Bunn's era. Available in that omnibus, or what I have thus far, in these 3 epic collections. So there remains a gap between the Venom Omnibus or Ven Omnibus Volume 3, which finalizes its pathway mainly with the Daniel Way series and Venom versus Carnage. We still need more material, and I believe and agree with Omar that there's more than enough material for a Ven Omnibus Volume 4 that not only incorporates the material between Venom Omnibus Volume 3 and the Remender era, but could potentially collect some of the flashback material that takes place, or rather is published, during the Donny Cates era. The one area I might disagree with is I believe there is enough material for a Ven Omnibus Volume 5 that collects the material not included in the Remender run or the Cates run, material that collects the Costa run, collects the Mania material, the Absolute Carnage material that wasn't collected within the Venom by Cates omnibus, featuring the symbiote in Vietnam. Nothing that overlaps too much with the Absolute Carnage omnibus, but the Venom relevant pieces. I agree that would make for a stellar omnibus for a number 9 slot on this most wanted Spider-Man Omni list. Let's move on to number 8. So for number 8, I believe that we can agree with Omar that Spider-Man The Next Chapter needs some reworking. We have the Spider-Man by John Byrne omnibus, and unfortunately it just focused on the John Byrne material. While that makes sense for a creator-centric omnibus, it doesn't make sense for the overarching stories running through Spider-Man at the time. When Spider-Man was relaunched in late 1998 as Amazing Spider-Man and Peter Parker Spider-Man, plot points would converge, whether it was a story that John Byrne was writing or a story that Howard Mackie was writing. There was connectivity, and that omnibus ignored that altogether. So we need the material that takes place before these Beyond Stellar J. Michael Straczynski Omnis. And so we need to be able to collect the material that really falls under the heading Spider-Man The Next Chapter. I believe this can be done in 2 Omnis, with the first Omni collecting the following material. So, Volume 1 would collect Amazing Spider-Man, issues 1 through 15, and annual 1999, Peter Parker Spider-Man 1 through 15, and annual 1999, Spider-Man 1/2, Thor, the 1998 relaunch series by Dan Jurgens, issue 8, which crosses over with Peter Parker Spider-Man, issue 2, Spider-Woman, the 1999 series featuring Maddie Franklin, issue 9, Web Spinners, the issue 1B story, and potentially 10 through 16, the Fastlane comic inserts that were released around that time, and just maybe 2 through 9 of Web Spinners, but those stories are not canon. Supposedly they are not canon. So we don't need that material to be collected. So that leaves what would be in Volume 2. Since it's only a second volume, I'll just go over that now. Amazing Spider-Man and Peter Parker Spider-Man would be collected issues 16 through 29 respectively, alongside annual 2000 and 2001 for Amazing Spider-Man and annual 2000 for Peter Parker Spider-Man. We would also see Spider-Man: The Revenge of the Green Goblin miniseries, which fills in the gap between what Norman Osborn was doing between the final chapter and both Peter Parker and Amazing Spider-Man issue 25 of the relaunch series, the crossover guest star appearance in Wolverine issues 156 and 157, the full 3-issue The Mysterio Manifesto from 2001, the Spidey and Marrow one-shot Spider-Man Lifeline issues 1 through 3, also known as Spider-Man Universe 14 through 16 in certain circles, and it gives us the opportunity, if we so wanted, to bring to a close Web Spinners with issues 17 and 18, Spider-Man Death and Destiny issues 1 through 3, which, for better or for worse, is a retcon series, Spider-Man vs. the Punisher issue 1, Daredevil and Spider-Man from 2001 issues 1 through 4, A Year in Review Spider-Man, also known as Peter and Mary Jane Spider-Man scrapbook. So that would close out the era between the final chapter, before the relaunch, and the material up until the J. Michael Straczynski omnibus. I'd also like to see a Paul Jenkins omnibus for Peter Parker Spider-Man and the relaunch of the Spectacular Spider-Man, but that's not on this top 10 list. Let's move on to the next option. So, for number 7, I don't really have a proper book to show off because this character is largely uncollected. For choice number 7, instead of going Silk, even though Cindy Moon deserves some love and she was featured on Omar's list, I believe that Maddie Franklin, the third good Spider-Woman, deserves her own collected edition. It could collect material from books that have already been collected, but we need her first appearances in The Gathering of Five, in the final chapter, at least material from those books. We need the first couple issues of Amazing Spider-Man, at least from the first 2 issues, as well as 5 and 6, because she's heavily involved in those issues of the relaunch series from 1998, before it leads into the 19-issue Spider-Woman series proper. We could give a brief summary of her time in Alias, although I'd love to see that collected. It is a mature ages title, so we would probably be better off just giving a brief summary or doing material from to avoid the adult content. And if we wanted to, we could include the material from the Grim Hunt storyline that takes place during the Brand New Day era, which brings the character story to a close for at least some time. There hasn't been a lot of focus on her, but she is an essential character. Her series is great because it also brings back Jessica Drew, Julia Carpenter into the Spider-Fold, and also heavily features Madam Web for a little while. It's a very underrated series. It's never had its own collected edition. It would be perfect for an average size omnibus. They don't all need to be 50 plus issues. So that's my selection for number 7 on my list. So for number 6, we are bringing it back to good old Ben Reilly, who, for whatever reason, just cannot catch a break post Clone Saga. He just cannot. But you know what? He deserves the opportunity to shine as well. Originally, when I was planning this video, I had this ranked a little bit higher, but I believe I'm going to switch this with another book that I had unintentionally ranked a little bit lower. So for number 6, we're focusing on Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider omnibus. Ben Reilly comes back in the wake of a 2016 event known as Dead No More, the Clone Conspiracy. It's set during the Amazing Spider-Man by Dan Slott Worldwide storyline, and Ben Reilly's different. After having been gone for a long while, some things have changed. We could collect material from the Clone Conspiracy. We definitely need the Omega issue as it sets up the ongoing Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider series. It's another Peter David gem. And even though to this day I'm not a huge fan of the ending, and there's some oddity that transitions from Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, over to his appearance in Spider-Geddon, it's not the worst series. Ben has to find himself a way to redemption. It includes Kane in a role that I'll discuss later on in this list. It's 25 issues. It'll make for a decent, average-ish sized omnibus. We can easily get everything we need for that material in one volume. If you wanted to, you could go away from the Peter David focus and even include the 5 issues of Spider-Geddon to see how he gets to where he is later on, and how he eventually, years later, transitions to this Spider-Man Beyond period, which takes place post the Nick Spencer era and pre the Zeb Wells era. I can't express enough what a great character Ben Reilly is when he's written properly. I hope one day we can get back to that, because there's been some character assassination going on, in my opinion. He's one of my top comic book characters, and I want to see him treated with proper respect again. So that's why this is number 6 on my list. Alright, so we are making it to the halfway point here. We are at number 5, and I believe that Omar was heading in the right direction with this as well. We need an Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows omnibus. It wouldn't collect all that much material. His mapping is pretty dead on. It's pretty straightforward. It would collect the 2015 Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows miniseries that was released as one of the tie-ins to the 2015 Secret Wars event written by Jonathan Hickman that had Dan Slott writing it. Wonderful Kuber artwork, and eventually it led into a 23-issue ongoing series, also titled Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows. It features Spider-Man and Mary Jane raising a daughter named Annie May, Annie for short, and all the adventures they go on, encountering foes of the past and of their present, making their lives seem less than normal. There's also an 8-year time skip, which ages up all the characters, of course, and that leads into the Spider-Geddon material. You could collect some of that. You could collect all of that, because Marvel doesn't mind double dipping. You could also include the Spider-Verse material. You could include the Spider-Girls 3-issue miniseries that ties into Spider-Geddon. You can include some Aftermath material, but really, that particular dimension hasn't gotten a whole lot of focus, so that would probably be about 32 to 35 issues in total. Decent size omnibus, not a bad choice for our 5th selection / entry in this discussion. So, number 4. No props for this one either, but if we're going to talk about Maddie Franklin, we need to talk about the Spider-Woman that originated the name in Marvel Comics. That would be Jessica Drew. So I agree with Omar wholeheartedly that, especially since the Marvel Masterworks have been released in full and we have a full restoration of her original series and material, we need a Spider-Woman Jessica Drew, the early years omnibus, which would collect her first appearance, all 50 issues of her original series, and some of the aftermath that follows up on that devastating 50th issue. Jessica Drew is the first Spider-Woman, followed by Julia Carpenter and Maddie Franklin. There have been so many Spider-Women out there, just like now there are so many Spider-Men. I think that given her time on the Avengers, on the New Avengers, as a private investigator, let's give her some love in omnibus format. She's earned it after all these years. She's had several ongoing series since then. This omnibus could be the gateway for many people to the character, and if it sells, we can get more modern material for her in an omnibus format, and not just in complete collections. Alright, so we've gotten the first volume of Brand New Day. We've gotten the material that takes place much later in the Superior Spider-Man omnibus. We've got Volume 2 and Volume 3 of Brand New Day releasing in 2026, I believe in January and July, respectively. What's next? Well, we need Spider-Man big time, as Omar said in his video as well. We need to kick off Dan Slott's solo era with Spider-Man. We've got plenty of material to collect from Amazing Spider-Man issue 648 all the way up until 797, I think. We've got to, no, he actually ended at 801, my apologies. We've got to get to that point. And obviously the Superior Spider-Man takes place during that era, that's obviously fine. But we need to collect the rest of the 2013 ending Spider-Man series that follows up on the Brand New Day material, and we need to collect the 2014 series. Don't know what heading to put that under, post Superior Spider-Man, and we need to eventually release the worldwide material in omnibus format. There's a lot of Dan Slott material out there, from the return yet again of the Hobgoblin to Ends of the Earth, featuring a devastating Dr. Octopus and Sinister Six story. Spider-Man gets his own sidekick. It's got a lot of great material in it. It really shines. We just need to officially see, hopefully after these Brand New Day Omnis are released, we need to see that material collected to help bridge the gap from Brand New Day to Superior Spider-Man, and then eventually, whatever they decide to call it, bridge the gap from Superior Spider-Man to the Nick Spencer era. You can do it in a couple omnibus for the between Brand New Day and Superior Spider-Man. It really wouldn't take that many, and you could collect the extra spin-off material if you so wanted, but I think to keep it centered on Dan Slott, it should just be focused on the big-time material. So that's my recommendation for choice number 3 in this video. We're bringing him back out because number 2 on my list for the most wanted Spider-Man Omnis for my 2025 list is the 2012 Scarlet Spider series by Kyle and Yost, with some wonderful Ryan Stegman artwork. In the aftermath of the Dan Slott penned Spider Island event, Kane has returned. He is under a new persona. He decides to honor his brother-in-arms, Ben Reilly, by taking on the moniker of Scarlet Spider. The series started off in Marvel Now, ran for 25 issues, and eventually came to an end when Kane was incorporated into the 2014 Spider-Verse series, or event series, rather. We can collect the Marvel Now, all 25 issues of the Scarlet Spider series, include the crossover material during the Minimum Carnage event with Venom. I want to see incorporated the 2014 New Warriors series as well, because Kane's a part of that team. We'll just include that in this omnibus, and you can include it in the future New Warriors Modern omnibus. The more New Warriors we get, the better off we are, outside of that reality show material that preceded their appearance in Civil War. So let's collect this anti-hero series for the Scarlet Spider. Let's give Kane a little bit of love as he seeks to forge his own path and seeks redemption as well. Has a great supporting cast. Kane wrestling with his new status quo is always great. There's some surprise guest stars. The crossover with Venom is actually pretty fun. Comes highly recommended. Well worth having as the number 2 slot on my list for the most wanted Spider-Man Omnis for 2025. And for my number 1 pick for the most wanted Spider-Man Omnis for the year 2025, it was not going to end any other way than me wanting Spider-Girl in an omnibus format. Now, beyond the fact that I love Spider-Girl and the story, the collected editions have one heck of a history. We started off with one trade paperback edition collecting 0 through 8 of the ongoing series, issue 0 being a reprint of her first appearance in the second ongoing What If series, issue 105, and we got nothing else for a little while. Eventually, they started printing digest, manga, tankobon-sized books that were collecting a lot of the material for the first series, which ran 100 issues, but we got 12 of those We got close to the end. Close is no cigar, or no no web shooter in this case. Close is no web shooter in this case. I was overjoyed, however, when in 2018 Marvel started releasing a series of complete collections, and we managed to, over the years, see them sell well enough to get 4 of these complete collections. Myself and Spider-Girl fans who have been with the series for eons, it seems at this point, even though she only debuted in 1998, we're used to cancellations. We're used to being devastated by this character and the treatment of her and her series. We had to save the series from multiple cancellations, so with the collected editions, it seemed apt and kind of ironic. But we really thought with the release of these complete collections, we were going to get, at minimum, the complete 100-issue series. But these complete collections were canceled in favor of these new modern era epics. They re-released Volume 1, and Volume 1 actually has different mapping. Whereas the complete collection got you up through issue 19, this ends with issue 15 and collects What If 105 as opposed to Spider-Girl issue 0. It's the same material, but still different mapping. One thing they did do is release this Volume 5, Keeping the Faith, which follows up on Volume 4, which concludes with issue 67, and this picks up with issue 68. We'll get Volume 6 of these modern era epics, which will finally collect up through issue 100. Still, as appreciative as I am for this, we don't have Spider-Girl in a consistent format, in a consistent line. We need an omnibus line. It could collect What If, issue 105, and I agree with Omar, collecting Spider-Girl issues 1 through 32 would be appropriate because it gets us to a story break, include annual 1999. I would add, at the very least, the Buzz miniseries in there, because the Buzz is a Spider-Girl Presents miniseries. Later volumes could incorporate the Dark Devil miniseries and other tie-ins such as Last Hero Standing, Last Planet Standing, but focusing on just Volume 1, let's get bare minimum at least a third of the original series, because Mayday Parker deserves it. It's about a character who, of course, is the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson. She finds out her father was Spider-Man. She decides that not only does she have to honor her father's legacy, but also Ben Reilly's, as she's wearing his costume for much of the series. She's got to forge her own path. I've never been a teenage girl, but I've had to move out of the shadow of my parents and forge my own legacy. So I can empathize with that. It is my all-time favorite Marvel Comics run, my all-time favorite Spider-Man run. I would love to see this given the appropriate respect and be given the omnibus treatment. At the very least, it deserves it for all of the BS we have dealt with Marvel, with all of these different lines and formats for Spider-Girl. While these look nice on my shelf, they do not look consistent. So, make mine Marvel, make mine Mayday. This is the #1 choice on my most wanted Spider-Man poll. So, thank you for watching that portion of this video. Stay tuned for some bonus material. Alright, so I promised y'all some bonus content, and that comes in the form of my mapping for the other 3 Clone Saga Aftermath Omnibus editions. And we'll start off with a reminder of what I mapped for the Clone Saga Aftermath Volume 1, which I had titled The Return of Peter Parker. So just as a reminder, I mapped that to collect Amazing Spider-Man, the -1 issue, 419 to 421, Spectacular Spider-Man -1, 242 to 245, Spider-Man -1, 76 through 80, Sensational Spider-Man -1, 12 through 18, Spider-Man Unlimited 15 and 16, Spider-Man Team Up issue 6, Journey into Mystery, the 1962 series, issue 505, Spider-Man The Entire Hobgoblin Lives 3-issue miniseries, the Marvel Holiday Special 1996, X-Man issue 24, the original graphic novel Spider-Man Dead Man's Hand, Silver Surfer from 1987, the issues 128 and 129, the Marvel Valentine's Special, and possibly, far-fetched, but the Spider-Man Father's Day's Everyday Toyota Giveaway promo. Volume 2, so far I believe either Spider-Man The Clone Saga Aftermath Omnibus Volume 2, Road to Spider-Hunt, or From Menace to Murder would work as an overarching title. This would collect Amazing Spider-Man 422 to 428, Annual 97, Spectacular Spider-Man 246 to 250, Spider-Man 81 through 87 and Annual 1997, Sensational Spider-Man 19 through 23, Spider-Man Unlimited 17 and 18, Spider-Man Team Up issue 7, Marvel Team Up the 1997 series 1 through 3, Uncanny X-Men 346, and possibly Spider-Man Doom Control the 1998 miniseries issues 0 through 4. Moving on to Volume 3, I have titled this Spider-Man The Clone Saga Aftermath Omnibus Volume 3. We'll call it either Spider-Hunt or Identity Crisis, as those are both prominent story arcs within this volume. This would collect Amazing Spider-Man issue 429 to 435, Spectacular Spider-Man 251 to 258, Spider-Man 88 to 92, Sensational Spider-Man 24 through 28, Spider-Man Unlimited issue 19, Marvel Team Up the 1997 series issues 4 through 7, Spider-Man The Venom Agenda issue 1, Venom the Finale issues 1 through 3, the Kingpin original graphic novel titled To the Death, and X-Man 37 and 38. No issue left behind means no Spider issue left behind as well. We are not swatting anything out of that web. And for the final volume, the Clone Saga Aftermath Volume 4, we could title it either The Gathering of 5 or The Last Chapter. Again, two prominent storylines in this potential volume. This would collect the finale for multiple series, Amazing Spider-Man issue 436 through 441, and Annual 1998, also known as Spider-Man Devil Dinosaur Annual 98, Spectacular Spider-Man 259 to 263, Spider-Man 93 through 98, Sensational Spider-Man 29 through 33, Spider-Man Unlimited 20 through 22, Spider-Man Made Men, which is an original graphic novel, material from mainly the third story, Shadows and Light issue 3, Fantastic Four, the 1998 relaunch series for Heroes Return, issue 9, Peter Parker Spider-Man, an Elektra annual from 1998, possibly also material from Shadows and Light issues 2 and 3, outside of the third story, Daredevil the 1998 series issue 1/2, The Legacy of Spider-Man 1998 special from Wizard Magazine, How Do You Stop the Rhino from Charging, and material from Iron Man the Iron Age, the 1998 series, issue number 2. That would collect as much as humanly possible that features Spider-Man post-Clone Saga, post-Ben Reilly. It's doable. If Marvel can put out Road to, Prelude to, Aftermath, Post, whatever, and those volumes sell like crazy, Spider-Man's popular too, those books can also sell and sell quite well. So make mine Marvel and make mine Spider-Man once again. The other area I wanted to address, why am I making videos like this when I haven't really done top videos before? I've never really responded to another YouTuber's video. It's because I want to continue building community and bonds through that community. I've been a collector and lover of comics since 1992 when I picked up my first comic book, Sonic the Hedgehog issue 0 from A. Walden Books, and was able to get into Spider-Man in the middle of the infamous 90s Clone Saga. I want to be able to share my experience, share my love, and grow the community through all of that. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about people, it's about community, and it may be able to get other people into comics. I want to be able to expand my purview, use my knowledge, skills, and abilities within comics to showcase what comics can mean to people. It's not about the views, it's not about growing the channel, it's just about expanding the ability to connect to people, and part of that is showing appreciation for other members of the community like Omar, like Curtis of the Epic Marvel Podcast, like Crisis, like Jess from OmniDog. So many various creators out there within YouTube, so many various creators within the comic book community, within the industry, outside of it. And I want to continue forming relationships and making connections with those people. So that's just one of the reasons I want to continue expanding my purview and the variety of videos I put out through this channel. Thank you for watching, those of you who are current members, who are future members. At the end of the day, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Stay webtastic. Thank you for watching this long video. And above all else, be well.